Waiting for Facebook to grab it. Our audio, our mic is hot for those of you on YouTube and Periscope. Stand by for live coverage. Facebook is doing its fetching. Here we go. Welcome back to live coverage from the Carolina Weather Group. It is May the 29th, 2018. I am James Brierton in Charlotte, North Carolina, and joining me is Jared Smith from Charleston, South Carolina. We are back on the air because a flash flood emergency has been issued in the western North Carolina mountains, specifically in the county of McDowell County. That includes areas like Old Fort and Marion. We'll get to that in just a moment. Right now, you're looking at Carolina Weather Group radar. We have the latest watches and warnings scrolling on the left side of the screen. We'll get to some of those, but what we want to show you is the amount of rain right now still working its way over the western half of the state, in the foothills, in those higher elevations. And of course, if you live in those areas or you've been watching the weather, you know that they've had a lot of rain in this area in the past few days. And then we had all of this moisture today associated with subtropical storm Alberto that has been bringing continuous rain to the area. That's why we had flash flood warnings that went up earlier, and they've just upgraded that to a flash flood emergency in McDowell County because they have a significant threat to life and property. We're going to be talking about all of that. We're also hoping to be joined during this live stream with our own Scotty Powell, who is up in that area working with emergency management, going through a lot of this information. He has been a key part of the system that has been relaying information to the National Weather Service in Greenville, Spartanburg throughout the evening. So we're hoping Scotty will be able to join us in just a few moments. But as we come back on the air here at about 10:40, we have a few key stories we want to tell you about. The first is a image that is coming to us from the North Carolina Department of Transportation. It's a still picture, but notice how quiet Interstate 40 is, and it is because it is closed in the Old Fort area near the ridge here as you make your way through McDowell County, because not too long ago we got word that there was a mudslide onto the roadway. We believe it may have actually involved several vehicles that were passing through at the time, but Scotty is telling us that no injuries have been reported at this time, so that is some significant good news. The other top story, of course, we're following is the flash flood emergency. We're also working to get more information from officials and from Scotty about a water rescue that we believe is underway or was underway a short time ago. There was a crew from NCDOT making their way up to, here's the information right here, matter of fact, from Scotty Powell. A DOT truck ended up in a river. This is in the McDowell County area. Two folks ended up on top of that truck along the Catawba River Road in Old Fort, so that same area we were just talking about. Emergency officials having to rescue them, swift water rescue from the top of that truck because they were trying to get out to care for these roads, and they got caught in a flash flood themselves. So let's talk about just how much rain has fallen across the area. We have live radar up on the left side of your screen, but we go now to Jared Smith in Charleston, South Carolina. And Jared, how did we even get to this point?
Well, you get a tropical system, and you get on the outer periphery of that, and it just all breaks loose. And we've been here, we're looking at this is radar out of GSP. This is so a little loop there. It looks like it might be coming through a little bit choppy on the screen, but I'll just give you a general idea. Let me stop it here real quick. I guess the good news for Old Fort is that it's moved into Marion, but that's not really good news because this whole area is under that flash flood emergency. Let's take a look at the radar. Let's take a look at the storm totals from the radar here. This is what's estimated from the GSP radar. This could be very well underdone. The radar is telling me about 3, maybe 4 inches in some spots, almost 5. I've got a 5-inch pixel right here. See if I can't zoom in a little bit just north of 70 there. So this is now starting to move into Marion, and it's not moving very fast. I'll take it out a little bit and set it back in motion. You can see we just got these training echoes coming up from Union all the way south in McDowell County, roughly from about Union to Burnsville here, crossing I-40, which again, closed due to that landslide situation there. Several of these bands going on right now. We also have them. We also have a separate band going in Gainesville, Georgia, and this is moving north into Murphy and Franklin, Tennessee. But this right here, I mean, this is just absolutely. It's just training and training and training, and there's not much we can do about it. Except watch it. We look at this. This is the 1-hour precipitation product, and you can see rainfall rates. 1 to 2 inches, 1.5. There probably is going to be 2 inches in there somewhere. just in the last hour. So this heavy rain continues to fall, and it looks like now the fire hose has shifted a little bit eastward and now is targeting Marion in McDowell County. So again, very dangerous situation, and it doesn't look like for this area now the rain is going to stop for. Doesn't look like it's going to stop for a while because again, it's just this rain train, very slow moving, cells training on top of each other. Classic flash flood setup, and that's certainly what we're dealing with tonight.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right, Jared. And we could see it there on radar that even in the short term, in the coming hours, the yet to come, and in the past, we've had this training of rain over the repeated same areas. But what we're not seeing on this particular radar image, and would require some more imagery, is just the amount of rain we've had in this area over the course of the last few days, because that's important for everyone to remember for this setup as well, too. We're just getting some new information in from National Weather Service. This falls into the jurisdiction of Greenville, Spartanburg, who following what they're now calling an increased threat of landslides and debris flows across the mountains and foothills. Forgive me, I'm looking away from the camera because I'm literally just reading this new bulletin that's come in. Additional rounds of heavy tropical rainfall are expected across the southern Appalachians tonight and possibly into tomorrow morning. So this situation, folks, is going to continue through the overnight areas. Additional rainfall amounts of 1 to 3 inches are possible in and around the mountains. This rain will fall on locations, as we've been talking about, already saturated by rainfall over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, but I've got the high-res rapid refresh model up now of GR Earth, and this is the it looks like this is the 9 o'clock run, so reasonably recent. And I'll take it into Western North Carolina here real quick. So there's Asheville, there's Hickory, there's Greenville, and you can see that the model is still printing out just south of I-40. Now, of course, you can never take this as gospel, but it just gives you a general idea of what the model is thinking here. This is 3-hour rain totals of 3 inches. And we let that expand over time, give the model a second to load, and you can see it just trains right back. We have some of this heavy rain training right back over the affected areas in McDowell County. I can pull the warnings up, so what's cool is I can grab the warnings. I don't know if it's grabbing all of them, though. That's an awful few amount of warnings to show up there, so I'm going to take that off, so sorry about that. But we'll move forward in time here. Here's 8 o'clock tomorrow, and there's still showers indicated over Asheville. We'll show kind of the traditional like future radar here, and so things scatter out a little bit. You can still see there's signals here in far western North Carolina of heavy downpours continuing in that part of the world. So I'll back this up again, and you can see we'll take the future radar, and you can see, man, you don't like to see this at all. The model has still got several hours of rainfall to come. And it looks like it wants to redevelop some additional rainfall overnight. So this is not over. This is not over by a long shot. A couple more rounds is certainly possible. Let's pull up another product here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab this is the severe view, and there's a wider view of what's going on. But the other thing that I'm going to grab right now is I'm going to grab the 12-hour precipitation estimate, and it looks like this is from the radar multi-sensor. I tell you what, this looks massively underdone. So I think I'm gonna I mean, it's only saying 1 to 2 inches, which we know is massively underdone. So this may be a little bit behind. It'll be interesting to see how this updates, but what it does show is kind of tells a story. So there's Alberta right there. Over the last 12 hours, you can see a very nice swath of heavy rain into Alabama. I'll scoot that over so everyone can see it. And you can just see the swath of tropical moisture. Charleston, we got nothing today. I thought we were going to have, at least something pop on the sea breeze. That didn't happen. It all stayed in a very narrow corridor west by 95 and right into Greenville and Charlotte on the outer edge of it. But you definitely had this persistent band of rain for several hours set up in Greenville. So let's take another look at here. I'm going to pull the satellite radar composite here. Let me switch the radar back to radar, and let me get, instead of visible, which does not work at night, let's go infrared. And actually, I'm going to turn the radar off so we can look at some of the cloud tops here. Go 16, beautiful thing. And one of the things that it can tell us is as we have cloud tops that cool, that means that thunderstorms continue to intensify and maintain their strength. And so this is looking at this is about an hour ago or so, and forgive me while this loads up, but you can see. Let me take that back out. I think it'd be easier if we take that back out, let everything load up.
And
but
actually,
what we're going to see
while you're doing that, I can show a little bit of what you
Yeah.
were working to show before. This is from the EDD, and I think it might have a little bit more of an updated rainfall estimate over the at least last 72 hours here as we look over the mountains. This is a McDowell. This is a Bumpkin towards Asheville. You can see upwards of radar estimated 5, some pinks in there, which are closer to 6 or 7 inches. And of course, this number likely to grow as we continue to get rain over the course of the next few hours.
Yep, absolutely. So I've got the satellite up here. There's still a couple frames missing, but we'll go with it. Point out a couple key features. It looks like Alberto Center is starting to get towards Nashville. So that's where the remnants of Alberto still are. And you see several, I'm just going to kind of rock it back and forth a little bit. And you'll see that plume of moisture just continues to funnel in into the western North Carolina. We'll switch to water vapor real quick, and that'll also tell a nice story there. And you can again see right around. You can see it's sourced, sourced from the Caribbean, and it looks like there's Scotty. So that's cool. We'll get to Scotty shortly, and you can see this source from the Caribbean wrapping around a subtropical high to the east and Alberta circulation to the west, and caught right in the crossfire in western North Carolina. Scotty Powell joining us live from, I believe you're at the EOC right now. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Jared, it is. Oh, did I lose there? There you are. Yeah, I am. I'm sorry. Very busy night here, so I'm going to only be able to stick around for just a couple of minutes. But dealing with the flash flood emergency, first I've ever had to experience. Very dangerous night developing here in western North Carolina, specifically Rutherford, McDowell, Burke, and Caldwell County. Guys, I can't tell you, numerous roads are flooded, washed out. We've had up to 10 debris flows, landslides, rock slides. We've got swiftwater rescues going on. In fact, Interstate 40 is completely shut down once you get past Marion due to a major landslide on Old Fort Mountain. There were cars that were up there. Fortunately, no injuries. Everyone was able to get out. We did have a DOT truck that was washed out into a river. We had swiftwater rescue there. Those two folks are doing okay. Medical personnel taking a look at them right now. But a flash flood emergency here until 4:30 a.m. Numerous things going on, and it looks like we still have here at the office heavy rain continuing to fall.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't seem to be stopping. I mean, we got this. I'll switch back to GSP here and just take a look at the radar. And man, I mean, you just don't like this. You just don't like to see this at all. You see these training echoes, and it looks like whatever eastward jog might have been there is like stopped, and it looks like Marion is about to just take just get whacked right here. Let me go back to the 1 hour, and I mean, Scott, if you see my radar up here, you've got that's just this swath. Just it reminds me a lot of what we went through in 2015 here in Charleston. We had flash flood emergencies, just the fire hose of convergence and rainfall, and yeah, I mean, it's still just running right over 40. Scotty, was the landslide in Old Fort?
Yeah, it was. In fact, where your Interstate 40 symbol is right there.
Yeah.
There between Old Fort and Black Mountain, that's about where the landslide was. That call came in, I want to say about 45 minutes ago. Currently, though, Jared, I'm telling you, I can hear the rain beating down on the roof right now. We have got that fire hose of moisture just moving in, and it is pretty bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I just heard there. I'm gonna say that was rain. I'm gonna hope that was rain and not something else. But that
was a video going on.
This is oh, okay, gotcha. Okay,
I was wondering where that noise was coming from. I was like, it's raining, but not that hard.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's definitely coming down. I mean, when you get into these 1 to 2 inch an hour kind of deals, being estimated by the radar, and Scotty, the gauges are going to be interesting tomorrow morning because the Kokoraz gauges, because I know at least with our situation in Charleston, we've been underestimating big time the radar. The radar is saying 1 to 2 inches. It's been closer to 3 or 4. So it would not shock me in the slightest to see that this is also underestimating with it such a deep tropical air mass. That it's really underestimating that. So again, when we use these radar estimates, we don't take them verbatim. We look for gauges.
And Jared, one of the big problems we've had here, and I'm going to have to go back here in just a couple minutes. We did a webinar conference call with the GSP about 11:30 this morning, and our friend Trish Palmer, friend of the show, she showed a graphic since May 15th. Portions of McDowell County, Burke County, they have seen up to 12 inches of rain since May 15th, not including what's currently falling right now. So we've just been totally saturated here in the foothills.
Yeah.
And even April was a wet month. I mean, 7 to 8 inches of rain in April. So this area has been just inundated with rainfall, and it's finally caught up with us tonight.
Oh yeah, I've got Kokoraz reports up here on the screen here. I took the radar data off for a moment so we can look at these, and this is coming in from a little while ago. But here's one from Bat Cave, 5.58 inches of rain. This is reported a little after 8 o'clock at Bat Cave. Some of these reports are set in at varying times, so they're not going to be completely time dependent. So we got to look at the timestamps on these. But even as early as 1 o'clock. 2.71 inches, 3.4 inches, just in 9.6 miles east-northeast of Hendersonville. So, yeah, I mean, owing to the saturation that you've had since May 15th, heck, the saturation that you've had since, 12 hours ago.
Yes.
These reports are just mind-blowing at this point. And I mean, it's 5.58. I mean, I'm glad they reported. And I hope a few more can get their reports in, because I definitely buy this, and it is going to be very interesting to see what these stations further north. I know we've got one in Old Fort that updated at 1 o'clock. They had already had 2.49 inches of rain for the day. That was going to look very interesting. Hopefully, it's still there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be, you have this, you get into this situation where you have the landslides. I mean, we may be losing parts of the observation network at some point. So let me see if I can't get, let me take that off. Let me see here. I'm gonna pop open the LSRs and kind of regroup for everybody right now, kind of what's happened with Scotty Powell.
I'm going to have to jump off right quick. They're calling me back.
All right, man. Good luck.
Thank you.
Stay safe up there.
We'll talk to you guys. We'll recap this, I'm sure, all tomorrow night.
Yeah, sounds like we have a show planned. So
yes.
All right, man.
All right, talk to you. I'll try to jump in if I can a little bit later if you guys are still, but they're calling me back. So
go, Scotty. Catch you later, man.
Thanks.
Yep, do it. All right, and that's Scotty Powell joining us from the EOC, McDowell County. He's got to go back to work, working with the Foothills Weather Network. Very busy night for them out there. So let's recap what happened. We have a flash flood emergency from McDowell County in North Carolina. Several reports of landslides. Scotty was telling us about a DOT truck that was trying to pull somebody out of a landslide, and it got swept away by a flash flood. Two people on top of the truck, fortunately rescued. Thank goodness. We briefly had the Marion cam up there, and it looked okay. We'll try and get back to that in a few minutes, but I wanted to bring back the LSRs here, some of the local storm report here. So we've got numerous flash flood reports here in McDowell County. We have water from Cane Creek surrounding homes in Cane Creek Road. This is in McDowell County. This is 2 miles northeast of Old Fort. Right inside of Old Fort, we have flooding on Ripsey Loop Road near Twin Lakes. Evacuations ongoing. We have water covering road on Pine Cove Road and Silver's Welch Road. And this is only the stuff that the GSP meteorologists have had time to enter into the LSR system. Numerous reports of flooding here. A tree, you have a tree down because of heavy rain. I mean, that's just That's just insane. Black Mountain, a trailer park, is being evacuated due to flash flooding. That was earlier today. So that might be. But that, I mean, that tells you just exactly kind of the gravity of the situation that we have here. There have been landslides on I-40. And we continue to see this influx of tropical moisture moving north across McDowell County. So let's get back to that last frame there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of these data layers off just so we can more concisely talk about what's going on. So I'm going to take Kokoraz off, and I'm going to take, let's get the LSRs off for the time being. I'll turn these LSRs on so we can see them come in real time. But you see this flow of moisture coming in from the south, and this is all associated with tropical moisture from subtropical storm Alberto, or the remnants thereof. We'll switch to satellite real quick, and we'll show you. This is water vapor, and so what this does, this is a feature on the GOES satellite. All the GOES satellites have had this for decades, it feels like. Basically shows us the moisture content in the atmosphere. This is mid-level water vapor. You can see a nice plume of moisture sourced from the Caribbean. In fact, I'll go full disk here, and maybe we can. I mean, this has got. I mean, this has got sources maybe even from the Pacific, all the way up, funneling up into the southeast United States. Here is Alberto, the remnants thereof. It's going through Nashville right now. They're dealing with some weather issues over in Nashville. You have several very distinct bursts of convection. Continuing to fire, a little bit of outflow on the side of the remnant of Alberto there. I'll switch to the infrared photo. This will take a second to load, but you can still see where you have these dark blues and oranges. This is some very cold convective cloud tops, and under that you're getting very efficient rainfall, some of which rates 1 to 3 inches an hour. We'll go to the 1 hour precipitation product. And again, I need to stress, when we use radar-based precipitation tools, one thing that we have to keep in mind is that it's all estimated. This is not gauged data. This is what the radar believes is falling. Down here in Charleston, with this very similar tropical air mass over the last few days, we've noticed significant underestimation by the radar. So there are at least 1 to 2 inches of rain an hour falling now. Once again, over I-40, I-70, just in the last hour, this has shifted eastward into Marion. I'm gonna grab all the frames from this, and I'm gonna set this in motion here. You can see kind of where the streaks of the heaviest rain have set up, and you've got this threat now shifting into Marion. So we'll set that into reflectivity mode, and you can see just in the last hour this plume of moisture moving right through Marion at this point. So again, McDowell County, this is a flash flood emergency. This is typically issued when you have significant danger to life and property. So again, I'm just gonna read this off. This from the National Weather Service in Greenville, Spartanburg. This is issued about 10:32. Flash flood emergency for McDowell County, including the cities of Marion and Old Fort. So again, Marion and Old Fort, you need to be taking action now to protect yourself. Move to higher ground, and just stay put. Don't try to drive. Numerous roads closed. Very dangerous situation. Landslides possible at any time. So flash flooding and landslides already occurring. Seek higher ground now. Weather Service calls this a particularly dangerous situation. That's very, very strong wording that I haven't seen in a flash flood warning since Charleston did that in Charleston since the 2015 floods, from the 2015 flood event in October, loosely associated with Hurricane Joaquin. So again, Marion, Old Fort, Lake James State Park, Lake James, Nebo Pleasant Gardens, Glenwood, Ashford, Woodlawn, Sugar Hill, flash flood emergency for these locations. You got to get to higher ground. You got to stay off the roads. Very important. Landslides are a problem. Interstate 40 is closed near Old Fort. Highway 70 at Old Fort is also closed. All campgrounds along the Catawba River have been evacuated, and significant flooding is occurring along the river. We are going to look at, let's see here. Yeah, again, and GSP, and again, GSP is going right now to say that there is an additional risk of landslides. So I mean, it's very, very, very urgent that people understand the gravity of the situation here. So again, best advice to those of you in Marion right now is stay off the roads, Old Fort, those areas. Old Fort, if there's a sliver of good news here, it's that the moisture feed is temporarily wobbled back. However, I will note that we have another round of very heavy rain crossing US 64 between Rutherfordton and Lake Lure. This is moving north and may move back into Old Fort. So again, it's not over yet. We may still be dealing with another round of very heavy rainfall. We may be dealing with this for much of the night. I'm going to go to the high-res rapid refresh radar. This is a look at future radar. Let me switch the model run here to something a little more recent so we can get a good bit of data. That's an incomplete run. We're going to look at the 9 o'clock run of high-resolution rapid refresh. Let me zoom in on western North Carolina. We'll kind of give you a general idea of what we're thinking. So again, locations in the western North Carolina mountains. Here's I-40. Here's I-26. There's Asheville, Shelby, Hickory, Boone. And the one thing to note is that this is the future radar as of midnight. And you're going to notice that we still have significant rainfalls. Black Mountain, Marion. The model believes that additional rainfall is going to develop and move into the area here now. And we're going to move ahead. And we have yet another round between maybe, let's see, 4 or 5 a.m. moving through Black Mountain, between Black Mountain and Marion, Burnsville, Dillingham. Again, we can't take this with the gospel, but the model is still sniffing out the potential for very heavy rain. If we look at 3-hour rain totals, the swaths here projected by the model. Once again, when we start seeing, some of these oranges, that's 3 inches of rain that the model believes is going to fall in 3 hours' time. So very high rain rates, very tropical air mass definitely in place here, no doubt about it. We'll go to regional satellite radar composite here, and there's your flash flood warnings. Let me go to the infrared satellite once again. Zoom out a little bit. You can see where the radar is still very much lit up. We're also dealing with some flooding in Georgia. That's going to be moving in far western North Carolina. So anywhere around Franklin, Andrews, Murphy, this is going to become a problem for you as well. This is going to lift north into Tennessee at some point. You can see here's our friend. Here's Alberto. Here's what's left of it. It's just west of Nashville. It caused some nasty weather there earlier. This is moving north. The flow around Alberto and the flow around a subtropical ridge of high pressure, basically you have this nice convergence zone in the middle, and that is helping to funnel a lot of tropical moisture into western North Carolina. All right, so let me, I'm going to grab something here. We're going to grab the City of Marion webcam, and I want to take a look at what's going on here. So bear with me for just a second as I get my bearings here. I'm going to update my screen share for you, and you're going to see my interesting looking haircut for just a second here. I'm going to switch to the City of Marion webcam here, and let's share that sucker out. So these are a couple webcams from Marion, North Carolina, taking a look at it. A lot of cars on the road. I mean, these roads, this doesn't look too bad right here. And admittedly, I'm having a tough time seeing which camera this might be. So this is Main Street. All right. So this is a north and south view of Main Street in Marion. All right. And James is sitting down. So we've got James back here. We're taking a look here. And so far, you know, it doesn't look like there's a whole heck of a lot going on. A lot of green lights. Looks like Main Street is okay. But again, a lot of people driving out right now. And again, I got to tell you, if you come across a covered road, don't try to cross it. That's just going to put you in a world of hurt. You can't judge the depth, and you could be swept away. It takes just 6 inches of water, and your car could be floating. Then you could be knocked down. Foot of water, you could be going into a rapid. Ask the DOT guys from earlier; they know all about that, and thank goodness they're okay, because that is about as dangerous as it gets. So, James, we just got, we're looking at this Marion cam. Looks like downtown Marion is okay, but still very dangerous situation unfolding, and it looks like there's additional rain that's trying to back into Old Fort.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jared. Turn around, don't drown. And right now, like you said, the camera is not showing us any visible flooding in downtown Marion, but there's no telling what's just beyond the reach of the camera, and that's why we do have that flash flood warning. In effect, for all of the communities within McDowell County there in western North Carolina, you can see the radar on the left side of your screen there, and you can see we've got a lot of rain yet still to make its way through the mountains, and that's why we're with you tonight, and that's why the Emergency Management, in coordination with the National Weather Service, have issued that flash flood emergency. We did have the opportunity to talk to Scotty Powell there a short time ago to find out exactly what's going on in McDowell County, and he's been a key part of the system tonight, relaying information from the communities to the National Weather Service in Greenville-Spartanburg to let them know what's going on. Greenville-Spartanburg being the National Weather Service office in charge of this portion of the both Western North Carolina and upstate South Carolina. I heard you guys going through some of the storm reports as well too, and we have internally here National Weather Service chat where we're monitoring the conversation between National Weather Service and other officials as well too. One thing I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop up on the screen here momentarily via our EDD from the National Weather Service is the flash flood watch, because I know we have a lot of folks who are watching right now from other areas outside McDowell, and while McDowell right now is kind of where that imminent threat is, I just want to remind folks of where the flash flood warning, flash flood watch just stretch back out to, because we do still have rain working across other areas, and so I want to make sure that as you're watching us maybe from outside McDowell County, you know as you head to bed tonight, keep that weather radio on. And it seems like we may have a failure of the layer here in the EDD.
I have the watch, so let take me full.
Sure,
Scotty. I'll take the. I'm going to take the radar data off. I have the watch. I've got the polygons here. So yeah. So here's your watch, and let me get the temperatures off here real quick, just so you can get a good idea of the watch, the warning area as well. The warning is in a little brighter green, but you can see this is a pretty massive watch. A lot of areas under a flash flood watch tonight, from roughly Nashville, Tennessee, all the way up to Roanoke, Virginia. So, including Greenville, Anderson, Greenwood in South Carolina, Charlotte, Hickory, Asheville in North Carolina. So again, a pretty massive flash flood watch area. And a lot of, so this is, again, this is a situation where you've got to be ready to move to that higher ground and delay your travel, because it could turn dangerous in a hurry.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we saw on Interstate 40 not too long ago. I'll go ahead and pull that DOT camera back up again. It's a still picture, but the reason the road is empty is because just out of view and just around that bend, Interstate 40 is closed due to a mudslide that has come down on the interstate. No report of any injuries, luckily. This is in the Old Fort area of McDowell County, Interstate 40. You may be familiar with it, especially if you're coming from Hickory or Statesville or even Charlotte as you make your way towards Asheville. This would be prior to arriving there. As you come down that big ridge just shy of coming into town, you can see the interstate is just empty tonight because, again, it is closed because of that mudslide, and I know both Jared and Scotty have been talking about that. So we are happy to hear that there aren't any injuries involved in that situation there, but it sounds like, if I had to speculate, that road will be closed for some time because we've got even more rain coming in back behind it, so that's certainly, I would imagine, going to make it hard to clear all that off the roadway, Jared.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And again, one thing to keep in mind is we look at as we take the radar again, and it looks like we've got another round of rain. It's just crossed US 64, and it's headed right into Old Fort. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the county names up so we can be completely clear, because if you are not from, actually, let me tweak that so you can see them. So for the folks who are not from Western North Carolina, I'm not from Western North Carolina. So, I've one beautiful thing about being with the Carolina Weather Group is that I've learned a lot about the Carolinas. So I've learned a lot about where places are. So give me just a second here. I'm going to just clear this up for you guys so we can see exactly what's what. But again, we have another round of rain that's about to move in. And Marion, that Marion webcam is looking fine right now, but there's a whole lot more rain where that's coming from, James. And I got to tell you, I get really concerned that you gotta wonder if there's going to be some issues developing on that main street in the next hour or so. I just wouldn't take the chance. So yeah, this is coming out of Rutherford County. Once again, just moving north, and it looks like if it just wobbles back a little bit to the west, Old Fort, you're right in it again, where these mudslides have taken place. So we really need people to be, off the roads tonight. I don't think it's a bad night to go out, at a minimum, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing the flash flood warning footprint expand a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, Yancey County is now under a flash flood warning, and I believe this may be new. It's a little hard to tell because they're adding new ones and expanding some and adjusting the time, but I believe this is the first time we're going to have Mount Mitchell State Park, Green Mountain, and Poplar underneath this flash flood warning. If I'm not mistaken, Jared, I think this just came out new as of 11 o'clock.
This came out at 11:13, so this is just as of a couple minutes ago. So again, Yancey County, Western North Carolina. This goes until 5:15 a.m. Heavy rain moving back into the area. Flash flooding likely occurring or will begin shortly. And again, that risk of landslides is definitely there. So again, Burnsville, Mount Mitchell State Park, Ramseytown, Busick, Micaville, Green Mountain, Parkway Craggy to Little Switzerland, and Poplar. I gotta tell you, this is just not a good night to be traveling. Looks like you got your layer back, so that's good.
I switched to a different tool set.
Yeah. So, there you go. So we got the flash flood warning there. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty big flash flood warning footprint at this point. Flash flood warnings are ongoing in Caldwell, Burke County, McDowell County, Yancey, Buncombe, Henderson, Rutherford, Polk, and it looks like they've taken a little Cleveland County as well, stretching Forest City, Marion, Burnsville now, Morganton, Lenoir, and again, I got to tell you, Morganton, it'll be interesting to see if this wobbles east again. But I really am right now in this flash flood emergency area. Man, this is minutes out from Old Fort at this point. Yeah, absolutely. And we're starting to get the next updated run of the high-res rapid refresh. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my screen here real quick to that. Let's get a quick look at that Marion Skycam, if you can bring that back real quick.
Sure.
While I get this rapid refresh set back up. Looks like we're going to have enough data here. And again, we don't like to go run
while you're getting that said is I'm going to repeat what I just said, because I think for our broadcast I was on mute. I think you heard me and that was it. So just briefly, if that was the case, 3 terms you've been hearing: flash flood watch, flash flood warning, flash flood emergency, from lowest to highest severity. A flash flood watch means that your community could see flash flooding in the coming hours because of the rain and the drainage issues. A flash flood warning means flash flooding is occurring and you should seek higher ground. A flash flood emergency is the highest and most rare. It does not happen all that often. Matter of fact, in National Weather Service chat, it sounds like in recent history this is the 2nd time this has happened. So a flash flood emergency is what we have in McDowell County, and that means we have significant threat to life and property, especially along creeks, riverbeds, lakes, low-lying areas, poor drainage areas. That's where we're seeing the flooding. That's where we're seeing the evacuations. But it's not just rural areas. It's also, like we've been talking about, the interstate. So if you can get to a safe place, hunker down there for the evening. This is going to be occurring for several more hours. Jared, I think you had that latest model run for us.
Yeah, we do. We sure do. And again, it really kind of tells a story. We have 6-hour rain totals and coming in now, and Give that just a second. I'm going to zoom in on I-40. There's Old Fort. There's Marion. There's Woodlawn. And it looks like that there is another slug of, let me get that. So the model is printing out. I mean, again, this is taking the model verbatim. We try not to do this. You know, it's not the best thing to do, but it gives us a general idea of where some of the threats may set up. And the high res rapid refresh is cool because it takes radar data in many other sources, ingests it every hour, and comes up with an updated forecast for us every hour on a 3-kilometer grid. So it's very high resolution, and we can use that to, you know, hopefully drive some good short-term forecast decisions. And again, the model is printing out another it's printing out another 3 to 4 inches over 6 hours. And this is the runtime roughly 4 a.m. So I mean that's just, I mean, that's insane. But it's tropical. That's what you get with these. The good news being that it is kind of trying to, it looks like it's trying to scatter these showers out a little bit more. But again, the possibility for rain is going to be with us all night. You can see when you switch back to the 3-hour product, and there's still some showers moving through. And if you look closely, you look down into Georgia, there may be even more on the way later on in the period. We'll go to the 3 kilometer NAM here real quick, and we can kind of time this out even a little bit further going into tomorrow. But I'll pull that up. But again, you see these streaks of heavy rain and getting a little further west this time, but there could be additional issues tomorrow. So that being said, you know, we've really got to pay attention to what's going on right now in Marion and Old Fort, because it looks like we're going to have another round of rain for several more hours. I wouldn't be surprised if we're hearing about mudslides pretty much all night.
Well, it's funny you happen to say that at that particular moment, because that is exactly what's happening right now. Just into National Weather Service chat, local media on the ground there in McDowell County is telling us of yet another mudslide, this one at Pleasant Gardens Baptist Church Road, less than a quarter mile from the church itself there in McDowell County. So yet another mudslide. This is all unfolding in real time, and we have more rain on the way. So what can you do if you're heading to bed, if you found a safe place high enough in elevation away from any of these areas where water pools? Even if water doesn't pool there all the time, but sometimes pools there, it's probably going to pool there tonight. So you want to try to get to some higher safe ground. You're going to want to know a weather radio. You're going to want a flashlight. You're going to want to whistle, so that if you do unfortunately find yourself in a scenario where you're in some floodwaters, you're in a mudslide, that whistle will help first responders know where you are. So that's a key thing to try to track down tonight before it gets much later. What I want to do here briefly, Jared, unless you've got something in McDowell County, is I want to widen out.
Do it.
And show folks what's happening elsewhere across North Carolina and South Carolina, because you may be joining us here as we get closer to the 11:30 here. We'll probably wrap up in the next few minutes our special live coverage of this flash flood emergency. But looking at a radar here across North and South Carolina, you can see things at this hour are relatively quiet elsewhere. Raleigh, nothing. Wilmington, Columbia, Charleston. The radar is empty. You had some rain that moved through earlier, but you can see those green boxes there in western North Carolina. You can see the rain there, and as Jared mentioned, the rain coming out of Georgia into extreme western North Carolina, and that's what we're going to be keeping a close eye on. Essentially, this is going to be Interstate 77 and to the west over the course of the next few hours is where we're seeing a lot of this go down. Now, so those are the areas that are under that flash flood watch. What you're seeing on the screen there are the warnings. That's where flooding is taking place. That's where we've gotten a report, so many reports throughout the day of different flooding, different evacuations, things that have taken place that have really kind of caught our eye. And I think, Jared, you talked a little bit about the storm reports that came in before, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, well, and I think the thing to note is that a lot of those storm reports are from earlier today, and I was looking at the cooperative gauges from Kokoros, and the thing that's going to blow your mind, y'all, is that it's some of these reports, 1 to 2 inches, and that was at 1 o'clock. Imagine what's fallen now. Looks like we have a new flash flood warning.
Let me switch back over to my National Weather Service chat. Go ahead, and it sounds like you have the details for us.
Mitchell and Avery County. So this is just issued by Greenville Spartanburg. So 5:15 a.m. So this is this now takes in towns like Bakersville, Spruce Pine, over 19 East, Newland, Elk Park, Banner Elk, Beach Mountain, kind of on the
kind of filled this in now.
Sugar Mountain. Sugar Mountain. So so this is filled in, and this is right at the tip. This is right at the tip of that round of heavy rain that originates all the way back towards Gaffney. So again, like the flash flood warnings are really following this corridor at this point very closely, crossing I-40, and it looks roughly, if we're going to put a road to it, I mean it's kind of around the US 221 corridor. I think is the best way to put this, as far as like if we're looking for reference points for where this rain is. I think that's where we're at right now. So anywhere in the US 221 corridor, that's not a road I want to be on tonight. Quickly on this again, some river gauge information here. So the river gauge on the North Toe River near Spruce Pine is at 6.4 feet. 7.2 feet, Carpenter Island Road likely floods. So, and parts of Green Mountain Road and Highway 197 also flood. So we're seeing these river rises here, and that leads me to believe that we're going to be dealing with these issues for maybe well beyond tonight. So dangerous situation unfolding all over Western North Carolina, James. It would not shock me if we saw Morristown start getting into the game a little bit too, extending some of these even further northward with this plume of moisture.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just wondering as well, too. And Jared's mentioning Morristown. That is the National Weather Service office in Tennessee there, just on the other side of the mountains, who will begin to maybe issue some advisories and warnings of the like for their side of the mountain. Because right now we do have this flash flood warning that stretches from the South Carolina border through North Carolina up to the Tennessee border, including major metropolitan areas, or at least population densities here for Western North Carolina, like Asheville and Morganton, Lake James, Marion, making your way now up further north into parts of Avery County and Yancey and Mount Mitchell and so on and so forth. So we do have a lot more moisture working its way back behind it. And again, we're also going to be watching the portion of the Blue Ridge even further to the west there, just above Georgia, where some precipitation is working its way out of Chattahoochee National Forest and Habersham counties and Rabun there, and going to make its way into that portion of North Carolina that sits above Georgia. So what we are planning to do here at the Carolina Weather Group is we will leave our radar up all night. We will be streaming the audio from NOAA Weather Radio as a way for you to stay abreast of what's going on. However, I want to warn you, because I want to be frank with you when it comes to your safety. We're going to be kind of, scanning a broad area, and the best way for you to know what's going on exactly where you live is check with emergency management, whatever channels they normally communicate with, whether that's radio or TV, cell phones, text messaging, but most importantly, have that NOAA Weather Radio yourself wherever you live, so you can be notified in case of a flash flood warning, a flash flood emergency in your area. We want to make sure that you are evacuating when you need to be evacuating and following instructions, whether that's shelter in place, leave, or whatever it may be, because we do have more rain working its way through the mountains. And so this is now going to continue through the evening hours, through the overnight, in darkness. So as we've been sagging, and I don't think we can drive this home enough, stay home, stay off the roads. You're not going to be able to see flooded roadways, nor tell the depth or the velocity of those streams of water that will be making their way across roadways. And again, this isn't just a situation we're dealing with in rural areas. We saw it earlier with Interstate 40 with a landslide onto the interstate. So we're talking about major roads as well too, Jared.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, before we wrap up, just real quick, just as we've been talking about, it looks like heavy rain has moved back into Old Fort. So it's going to be, this is just one of those nights. It's not fun. It's fun, and I hope everybody stays safe.
And Jared mentioned the National Weather Service coordination, not only coming out of Greenville, Spartanburg, and over to the Tennessee side of things, but also the Virginia side of things, who have some of our extreme northern North Carolina counties like Watauga. No one's quizzing you on a map here, but the jurisdictions overlap a little bit. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because we just got a statement in from the Roanoke office that does do Watauga County and some of those extreme western North Carolina counties, and they're saying exactly what we're saying here, is that they're coordinating with other National Weather Service offices. They're monitoring the situation. They're watching things very closely in Watauga County. Gauges along New Watauga River continue to climb, and so they're continuing to monitor their situation. So while they have not issued anything for Watauga or any of their other counties up there yet, it's possible that could come in the coming hours, and that's why you're going to want the NOAA weather radio, and you're going to want to know a weather radio that is tuned to more than just tornadoes. You're going to want to make sure that it's going to wake you up in the middle of the night for flash flood warnings.
Yeah, and one thing to note on that too, James, is that even if you don't have a NOAA weather radio, but if you have an iPhone or Android, it's going to wake you. Flash flood warnings trigger what's known as a wireless emergency alert. You've probably seen them before for things like Amber Alerts, and you may have seen them for flash flood warnings. And there's a reason why they do them for flash flood warnings, so they can wake you. They're very loud, and they will definitely get your attention. One thing I recommend people do is, if you're in the affected area, turn off. Don't set your phone to silent tonight. You might get woken up a little bit, but you would want to be woken up by this. So consider that. Take that into consideration. Don't use your do not disturb feature, and just it's not going to be a comfortable night's sleep for some people, and we really hope that everybody comes through this okay. It's kind of a miracle that we've had no injuries so far. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that we've been lucky there, and I hope we stay that way.
Yeah, I do as well, too. You're right, no reported injuries as of yet. Unfortunately, the night is still young, so we want people to be safe. Hopefully everyone is home. We'll continue to monitor the situation. We will have a full recap of the situation tomorrow on our regular scheduled Carolina Weather Group show. That is at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the very channels that you're watching this on. So that's live on Facebook, live on YouTube, and live on Periscope if you follow us on Twitter. And so if you happen to be watching us live or on demand now and are just coming across our stream, be sure to subscribe, follow us on those platforms, because not only are we live with you every Wednesday night with the latest and greatest of weather, science, and tech across the Southeast, we also have special coverage just like this when the situation warrants, to keep you posted on what's happening across your hometown and communities. Otherwise, Jared, I think that's probably going to do it for us here on this special live coverage. Remember, we do have a flash flood emergency in McDowell County. We have flash flood warnings up throughout the mountains and the foothills of North Carolina. The situation is going to continue throughout the night, so stay here, stay with your local community emergency management, because we're going to continue to keep an eye on this radar, and we hope that you stay safe. We appreciate your time with us, trusting us with this information to relay to you here tonight, and we will see you back here very, very soon.
It is not worth the risk. Please turn around. Don't drown. Be especially cautious at night when it is harder to recognize the dangers of flooding. Runoff from heavy rain into creeks and streams will cause sudden increases in water levels and flows, even in areas where rainfall has been light or non-existent. Hikers, campers, and other individuals outdoors must immediately seek high ground and avoid all streams. The additional heavy rain will increase the risk of landslides, especially in areas where slides have occurred in the past.